Hi everyone, it's Clive here with a quick bit of feedback on your portrait assignments. This isn't me actually, this is a friend of mine who is a movie director who walked into my studio for a profile picture a couple of months ago. Let's have a look at some of your work. This is from Kamea. Kamea, what I love about this is that you've got us close to your subject, so we really get a good look at who this little fella is. And I like that he's got a really interesting expression. A couple of things I think you could improve here. He's standing against a patch of really bright light and then a really dark bush. So it's an area of high contrast, dark meets light. And when you get that in a frame, it is really distracting. High contrast areas draw the eye in a picture. So, and he's kind of sort of all mid-toned against bright and dark, so it's distracting from him. So just think a little bit more about your background. He's mostly being lit by a blue sky, so his skin tones are blue, which isn't the healthiest color for skin, so I would warm him up a bit, and then play a little with the contrast here. And just to, you know, I like the frame, but his eyes are in the center line, and that kind of robs the picture of a bit of energy, because it looks like he's slid down, slumped down in the frame. So what I'll do is I'll crop it, even at the expense of chopping off the top of his head, because, you know, let's face it, that the beanie's not bringing a hell of a lot to the picture anyway. What this picture is all about is that expression. So take us in there and deliver us the goods. I think that's a lot stronger. And we get a real sense of the emotion here. It looks like he's just seen something slightly frightening or really surprising. So I'm a fan of this. I just want to be in nice and close to see it, and make sure his skin tone is, you know, a little more flesh colored than that sort of bluish anoxic look. Okay, on to Luke's cool portrait. Luke, this is really nicely framed. Take a look at the shot before, Kamea's. He's got looking room, what we call his looking room. He's looking into the frame, which is kind of cool. Your subject is looking at us, but she's facing out of the frame, and I don't think it works so much here. Sometimes it can work, but as a rule of thumb, I would frame my subjects looking into the frame or facing into the frame rather than out. Lovely expression. You've got a good rapport with your model, which is really, really important. Get a rapport with your subject, and they'll really give you something and engage your viewer when they come to see the picture. What I'm not a fan of is the light. It's on-camera flash. It's created a nice highlight in the eye, but what it's also done is light the face really evenly without creating shade or highlight in any particular part of the face. So the face tends in flat light or really even light, or where the light is on the camera axis, it creates just a kind of flat circle out of a face that isn't always flattering or revealing. So just think about getting your flash off the camera, or the main light off the camera. But what I do like is the differential between your subject and the background. It's darker. She's well exposed, the background is dark, so it's not distracting at all. So good work on that front, Luke. Nice portrait from Amanda here. Good direct gaze from your subject. Makes me feel like I'm a little kid though. And generally I like to shoot my subjects from eye level. And as we'll see some of the other pictures here, the level you're shooting your subject at makes a big difference to the kind of feel of the shot. But she's got a lovely, nice direct gaze and nice smile. And I don't mind so much that she's centered here. The eyes are up on the third line, which is cool, and it's kind of a symmetrical composition, which isn't exactly energizing the picture, but it's a square crop, so it fits. The square crop is sympathetic with this this centered composition for the portrait. Here's a nice shot from Amanda. Now here's something Amanda's got, and it's light from the right side, creating highlight and shadow, and so the face is standing out as a three-dimensional object, so it's really nice. I like it. Again, it's framed well. We've got the eyes here up on the line of thirds, which is really cool. Let's go back to this shot. The light is flat, so the features aren't standing out quite as much. We've got a little hint of a shadow under the nose, so that's cool, and shade under the chin. So we do have some three-dimensionality to this shot of Amanda's. But oh, Amanda has submitted two. Interesting. Anyway, both good. Moving on to Michelle's picture. This is really good. We've got a real differential between light and shadow here. The shadows are dark and deep, and that's a dramatic effect when you've got really dark shadows, but it's not overdone here. We could just see the eye here on the shady side of the face, but the nose is popping out against the shade here. So the directional light on this is really nice. I like it, and it's well framed. We've got a good direct gaze from our subject, which is always good. Warm, friendly, relaxed. I get a feel for this guy. It's nice. Check this out. Emma's fantastic portrait. What I love about this especially is the costume and the setting. Vintage dress, classic sort of Greek looking, is it a Corinthian column in the background, and some marble steps. So, you know, both these features are working together to give me a feel for this person. You know, this could be straight out of, you know, 50s movie set, and even just topping it off is this lovely bit of dramatic light, providing highlight, rim light to the face. Beautifully three-dimensional, nice strong pose. What could be stronger though is a direct gaze rather than staring out into the picture. It would just engage me a little more as a viewer, but this is still a very strong portrait. Costume, setting, adding up to give us a feel for this woman. You know, she's a lover of maybe the classical period, you know, vintage dresses, things 50s. You know, love the white gloves, the hard red lipstick. You know, lots of nice elements working together here to give us an impression of this person. Similar going on here from Josh, a young woman in what looks like a really interesting urban background. I love that you've retained some light and detail in the sky in the background here, Josh. Looks like it might have been shot through a window, and you've got some reflections going on. Really interesting, intriguing shot. A nice bit of directional light on the face, which is sculpting her. She's not engaging us directly with her eyes, but there's a kind of a shy, approachable look on this face. So I get a feeling for a contemporary young woman, which is nice. Susanna has brought a prop into her picture, so we know that this guy is a guitarist. She is telling us something about the portrait, the subject of her portrait. I actually warmed this up a little. Here's the original color temperature. We've got a really nice warm, maybe autumn background here, but because he's being lit mostly by shade, we've got blue tones from the sky getting into his skin tone. So I just want to warm this up, give him a little healthier color. Fantastic prop. Great separation from the background by Bocky. The background's not too distracting. Nice direct gaze. I might press him a little more, engage with the subject, Susanna, just to get another expression out of him. It's almost neutral, and I want a little bit more, but there is a little bit of warmth to that gaze, so it's pretty good. This is what I really love about this, is it's nice and sharp. It's a high quality image, so well done, Susanna. On to Alan's shot of a photographer. And what can we tell about this guy? Well, he's a photographer, he's holding a camera, autumn colours in the background, he's wearing outdoor gear, so this guy's out shooting the autumn colours. That's what Alan's telling us about his subject. It's great. The guy's engaging us with that nice direct gaze. There's a slight little differential from the light sculpting his face. We have highlight here, we have shade here. What is a little distraction is the hand, because it's high contrast, you know, white against the dark of the jacket. It's drawing our eye off his face to the hand, and we get to the hand and it's disappointingly soft because it's out of the zone of sharpness, that the depth of field you're applying, Alan. But for that little flaw, this is a pretty nice portrait. It's telling us something about the subject of your shot, which gets lots of credit in my book. Sheridan's beautiful portrait of this girl. I love the framing here at Sheridan. I like the light. It's sculpting the face nicely. Depth of field is fantastic. That is a terrific background. It's, you know, we see that there's depth back there, but it's not distracting at all. Love the wind in the hair. Nice sharpness on the hair and the eyes. Beautiful pose. Just, you know, what lets it down slightly is the expression. And again, you know, engage with your subject. Press them for more looks, more expressions to engage us a little more. She doesn't really look happy to see me, so I don't feel welcome staring at this shot, and I want to see what the next shot is. If she had a more welcoming or interesting expression, I would want to look at this picture for a lot longer. But as it is, it's a terrific shot. Nothing fancy here, but boy, it's a nice portrait. What's doing all the heavy lifting is the light. It's from a large source, like a doorway. It's coming in from the left of frame. It's creating highlights, it's creating shade, so this face is a three-dimensional object. Bit of a neutral expression, and a really ordinary background, but it's not too distracting. What is well done here is the sharpness in the eyes, a nice pose, you know, good direct gaze, well framed. The eyes are up on this thirds line, so nicely done. But look at the light. It's making the face pop. It feels like I'm looking at something three-dimensional, not just a flat, pale, round object. Leslie's tight portrait here, and again, what I'm getting a sense of is that the guy, your subject, is slumped down in frame, so it feels like we're lacking energy. So what I want to do is crop from the top, and what happens then is it takes us closer into this kind of grumpy gaze, and it's very confronting, and I kind of like it a little more, because he's really engaging me and I'm feeling something. He's making me feel just that little bit intimidated, and a picture that makes us feel something is a good picture. Not a fan of the sort of general colour here. Looks like it might be indoor lighting, and I know we're going for a colour portrait, so black and white is not appropriate, but I actually think it would be stronger in black and white, especially if we boost the contrast. I think we're going to end up with something a lot stronger and quite gritty, but we're not going there this week. We're all about colour. But yeah, for my money, I just want to go in tighter here, pop those eyes up to energise the portrait a little more. Look at this, Dylan's fantastic beauty portrait. Dylan, I can't fault this. Wonderful skin tones, beautiful direction to the light. The light is from a large source, so it's soft, it's flattering, the background isn't distracting. I love the conversation that's going on between the flowers in the hair and the flowers in the dress, framing this face beautifully. You've shot her from slightly above, so it's a very flattering angle for a female. Sparkle in the eyes. I just can't fault this picture. It is so well done. Great portrait, Dylan. This is a cool one. This is from Nadia, and what I love about it is the sharpness in the eyes and the bokeh, so that the focus is falling away. What is a little distracting though is that we've still got sharpness forward of the face here. So all of this detail, which is very contrasty, so it's drawing the eye, and it's sharp, so it's keeping our attention, and it drags our attention off the face, so it's a bit of a distraction. The other thing is he's leaning back in the picture, and I find that is quite a passive look, especially in a guy. And to energize my guys, I like to tilt them forward. Actually, I'd already cropped that. Let's go back to the original. That's where we are with the original. Okay, so what I want to do with it is just have him lean into the picture. Let's get in closer, and suddenly he's leaning in. He feels like he's leaning towards us, and there's more power to this image. It's a more masculine pose, and for my money, it just engages us a little more, and plus it gets us in tighter. And that crop also has diminished a little bit of the distraction that is very contrasty clothing was presenting us with. Blair has submitted this living room portrait. A lot of beige going on here, Blair, and I do find this side of the picture isn't doing any heavy lifting. In fact, it's quite distracting. So what I want to do is give it a good hard crop. And let's go portrait aspect. Oh, come on, Lightroom. Portrait aspect. Frame him up there. And I just think that's a little stronger. We're getting rid of that, distracting furniture in the background. Very neutral gaze. It looks like a very troubled man who really doesn't want any company. So I'm not engaged by it that much. But what is doing really good work in this picture is the light. Look at how it's coming down from the right, and his face isn't lost in shadow, but it's nicely sculpted. There's a light side, there's a dark side, and so we have a three-dimensional figure, not just a flat white circle for a face. So nice work there. Good lighting, Blair. Here's Melissa's portrait, and Melissa, you've got a great frame here. I like where the eyes are in frame. It's a classic medium close-up, which is framed from just above the top of the head down to the nipple line, and that puts the eyes at a really nice place in frame. Not 100% sure about the focus on the eyes. Looking a little soft, actually. Could be motion blur. I'll dig deeper when I come to give you the grade. But yeah, looking a little soft. And what I think it's suffering from is the pose here. You've shot her from above, and she's leaning back in her chair, so you've given her like 3 chins, and that's not especially flattering. Shoot from slightly above and get your subject to lean forward so that you create shade under the chin, and the chin stands out from the neck. Always flatter a woman in a picture, and they'll thank you for it. Again, there's a little bit of directional light, but I think we could push that a little harder. But some nice sparkling light catching the eyes, so that's a good thing. So everybody's doing something right here. So I'm really pleased with the quality work here. I'm a fan of this shot. I think it's lovely. Although, Alison, your subject is looking a little bit jaundiced for this, what could be lovely autumn afternoon light. So I would just cool it down a little to bring the skin tone back from jaundice to maybe there. But it's just a taste thing, really. I think it's good. There's a big soft light source, maybe a doorway, or a very big window on the right here. So we've got a three-dimensional looking face. We've got a great setting. We've got props in the background, and we've got costume that all adds up to farmer or farmer's wife. So you're telling us something about a character. Got a good direct gaze, a nice relaxed pose, and a brilliant frame. Lots to love in this picture, Alison. Well done indeed. Here's another one from Stephanie, and Stephanie is using a prop to tell us about her subject, who is obviously an artist showing off her art. The thing I'm not such a fan of is that the prop is stealing the show and totally overwhelming your subject here. It's really just demanding all my attention before I even look at the artist herself. So what would I do? I would probably pop her in front of the picture and have it blur out a little with a bokeh effect so that there's narrow depth of field on her face, particularly her eyes. Or if this is the only frame I had, then I would be ruthless and crop into her. So let's go all the way there. We're still framing the art in with her, so we're telling the viewer something about her, but the art isn't running away with the picture. If you want to go with a landscape crop, maybe something like that, but she's got to own the picture. Your subject has to own the picture shouldn't own your subject, which is, I think, what was happening with the original crop, Stephanie. Lovely frame for this nice intimate portrait from Vanessa, but it is horribly soft. The light's great, look, beautifully sculpted face, but horribly out of focus, and I'd give this an automatic 50%, or even a fail actually for focus, Vanessa. So never submit me anything this soft again, please. Luckily you submitted a second, which really isn't as nice a face to look at. The expression is not good, the pose isn't flattering, the shoulders are hunched, but at least it's sharper around the eyes, although I'm not convinced that it is critically sharp. I think the focus is on the nose rather than the eyes, so not a huge success on the focus front, Stephanie. And the background is really fighting for our attention. It's very contrasty, it's very colourful, and even the shirt is fighting for our attention and drawing us away from this face. So think a little harder about your background and definitely work harder on your focus, Vanessa. Check this out. Here we have a real character face. This face has seen some time, and time has had its effect. Look at these beautiful deep lines, really strong direct gaze. I'm guessing this guy's a fisherman. That's what the clues are telling me. Knitted hat, looks like, I don't know, could be a buoyancy vest or binoculars. Maybe there's a seaman's jacket on. He's dressed for the cold. It's a great portrait, real character. A little overexposed for my taste, so I'm going to drop the exposure a little, and now it's looking a little flat, so I'm going to pop the contrast, lift the exposure now, and I get a little more grit out of this portrait. But still really good. The eyes are a little low in frame, so tempted to bring the crop in even closer, and bingo, a very strong confronting portrait. Nice work, Richard. I think if you come to do portraits again, grab this subject again and see what else you can get from him, because that's a great character face, and he's not afraid to look us in the eye, which engages us. Here's a charming little subject in his PJs from Anna. Problem is he's looking a bit unhealthy. Look at the skin tone, it's very blue. No little boy should hold his breath for that long, so I think we need to warm him up just a tad to make him look a little healthier. Nice happy little face, nicely framed, so you know he is totally the subject of this story, which is nice. What I'm not a fan of, Anna, is I think you must have a really high ISO setting for this shot. It looks like it might have been shot in very low indoor light conditions, so the image quality isn't up to much. It's very noisy. It's like an old film grain effect, and it could be so much nicer, because what that noise does is it softens the picture and it just lowers the quality. He's got a beautiful expression, I really like it. Kids, as a rule, I think are a little bit easy to shoot. They'll give you a beautiful smile, or you know, some kind of mood, or they'll just be cute because there's food on their face. And I would encourage you not to shoot kids and to shoot adults. They give you a lot more to work with. They're a challenge. You have to build some muscle to work with adults and get them to do what you want to do. Mostly the best you can do with little kids is just get their attention, and you're forced to take what they give you. But here you've got a great little guy in his cute little PJs and a nice smile, so good work, Anna. Just watch that colour balance, eh? Look at this, really tight portrait, really confronting because we're that tight. Very stern gaze from a man who's welding his motorbike. A little smear of grease on the cheek. Really like this. Here's the thing about it though. He's lit from below. You can see a catchlight in the lower portion of his eye. As a rule of thumb, lighting a person from below is not flattering, but it is very dramatic. So I call it Frankenstein light, because in the old classic Frankenstein movies, that's how they lit the monster, from below. Great monster lighting. If you want to make a monster or a tough guy, light him from below, because we really do have a tough guy look, and I feel a little bit intimidated looking at this picture. It's tight. It feels like I'm invading his space, and those are all great things. You've created a picture that makes me feel a lot. I certainly feel I know something about this guy, and this gaze, this in-your-face frame is making me feel intimidated. So well done. I'm feeling something. I'm learning something about this character. Great shot, Naomi. On to Pia's portrait. Not bad, Pia, but boy, that's a tentative look on his face. And framed from below, feels like I'm a child. I would get myself on an even level with this guy. Try and get a stronger expression out of him, because you know he's well sturdily built, and I think he's got a lot more steel in him that you can portray, and it would certainly go with the rugby jersey. It's a very neutral gaze. I think you can work on that. What's distracting me from him is all of the contrast and detail in the background, and especially this bright patch here. So you know, maybe go tighter. Let's just crop into him, get rid of the bright patch if we can, go in a little tighter and get rid of all that distracting background, and then I think we've got something a little more successful. And again, energize him by having him lean into the picture a little, and I think we're getting there. I want to engage with him. I want him to give me a really cool smile or a tough guy look or something. He's just not really giving me much here. So I'm not sure if I see a friendly guy, a tough guy. I'm just kind of seeing a guy in a shirt. So Pia, work with your subjects and relate to them. And that's the strongest, most important piece of advice I can give you all for portraiture, is relate to your subject. Get them to relax and get them to give you expressions and open themselves up, so that you can tell the viewer something about your subject. What are we learning about this subject? She is cute. This is a great frame, especially for a kid, because we as adults we look down on kids. So sometimes shooting down at kids' eye level can be more interesting because it's a slightly more fresh look, and it gives them a little more power. This is a very subjective look. We've got the power. She's looking up at us, so we might be a parent or a guardian or an adult, and she's subjective to us. Still a nice frame. I like the light. The background is nice. It's not too distracting. She is brighter than the background, so she gets all our attention. But I want to get closer to this cute face, so why don't we either crop in there, which is kind of cool. We put a dominant eye at thirds point in frame, and we get this lovely greenery as kind of negative space to frame her against. Or we could do a classic portrait orientation, something like this. Let's go in even tighter still. Play around with your framing. See what works for you, and see what says what you want to say about your subject. If you've got a good looking subject, get us closer to them, and don't be afraid of chopping off the top of their head, because really all we're losing is hair. That's not telling us a lot. What's telling us the most about our subject are their eyes and their expression. That's what we want to see more of. Talk about eyes and expression. This is a beautiful shot. Lindy has, Lindy is the photographer, Karen is the subject. A lovely gaze, beautiful direct eye line. What's not working for me here? Your subject's face is blending into her neck, so we've got one big flat lump of flesh, and if we had shot with some stronger light from above to create a shadow beneath the chin, and maybe got her to lean forward, maybe stretch her chin out just a little for us, and maybe shoot from slightly above her eye level, we could do a better job of flattering her, Lindy. this is a woman I really want to flatter. And just watch out, little advanced tip, watch out for clothing that is catching the light, because we've got a nice red shirt here, t-shirt, which is obviously catching the sunlight and bouncing up a lot of redness up under her chin, which she's catching there, and it kind of makes her look a little sunburnt from below. So just watch out for little things like that, little colour casts from reflected light on your subject, and always try and get some flattering directional light onto these faces to sculpt them and make them look like three-dimensional objects. You know, great light here in Vanessa's portrait, it's just a little soft, sculpting the face, you know, defining the chin and jaw. Same again here, dramatic directional light, directional light, directional light. Here, not so much. The face is kind of flat. Again, the face is a flat, round shape and not so much sculpted. So think about that. Think about engaging with your subjects. Think about the light that's falling on them. And those are the two really important things to grasp as a portrait photographer. Okay, that's it for me. This is Clive, over and out.